You can join our Everydayer Club at lockedonjayhawks.supercast.com to get the ad-free version of the show. And we're going to be ranking the top 10 NCAA tournament player performances for KU basketball since the 2017 tourney. If you missed it, earlier this week was our 10-year anniversary for Locked On as a whole. So we've been doing some of these different fun top 10 lists. Thank you to Everydayers who already caught some of those past top 10 lists. So we're going back over the last 10 NCAA. I guess it would really be the last 9 NCAA tournaments. So 2017 and on are the tournaments we're doing. So 2016 and before, sorry, we're just going over these last 10 years. So 2017 and on, importance for the rankings. Did they win? That isn't the be-all, end-all, but it certainly makes it feel better, right? The scoring matters, filling up the stat sheet. Did you make key plays to win the game, especially late in the game? And was it against a good opponent, right? We're going to mention some against lesser opponents, but that might have knocked them down a little further on the list. A lot of honorable mentions to get to here. Dedrick Lawson, low-key, had 25 points and 11 rebounds on 9 of 16 shooting, 3 of 6 from 3. As KU dominated Northeastern in the first round. That's an honorable mention. How about Gradey Dick against Howard in the 2023 first round? 19 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, but also it's just Howard, so that doesn't get on the list. Honestly, and this is a big if because it actually did happen, if DeJuan Harris didn't get the 10-second call against Arkansas in the second round of the 2023 tournament and Kansas goes on to win that game, he might wind up there because he was playing hurt with that sprained ankle or rolled ankle. He had 12 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, shot 5 of 9, was impactful defensively, but that 10-second call just killed KU, and obviously they lose the game. Low-key Nick Timberlake had a 19-point game, 5 of 8 shooting as KU escaped the first round with Samford, and he hit the key free throws late on probably what wasn't a foul, but it is what it is. And then, honestly, KJ Adams in that game against Samford, I went back and looked at it. I was like, he had 20 points on 10 of 13 and 6 rebounds. That would be an honorable mention. I felt silly not putting this one on the list, but he's on there so many other times. Well, I guess I just gave away a little bit, but Remy Martin had a 23-point, 7-rebound game against Providence that was huge in the Sweet 16. But again, he's on here, so I wanted to get some other names. Zeke Mayo, they lost the game, but he had 18 points, 6 rebounds on a 91% true shooting percentage against Arkansas in the 2025 first round. That's an honorable mention. And then finally, Darren Peterson versus Cal Baptist this year had 28 points on a 56% true shooting percentage. And it was kind of the fun back and forth, but not enough of the other box score stats in that one. Okay, number 10 on the list is Hunter Dickinson versus Samford in the 2024 first round. Kansas escaped this game with Samford, and we mentioned Timberlake and KJ having good games. Hunter Dickinson was the biggest reason why. Now, Samford did have a bit of a matchup problem for him at the other end because their center could stretch and shoot the 3, and they just had to live with him hitting a couple. But Dickinson was he was just the biggest man on the court, and he made that known. 19 points, 20 rebounds. He had 5 assists, 4 blocks, and 2 steals on 9 of 14 shooting. Hunter's performance, again, it just comes in the first round against Samford. You end up losing the next round. That's in at number 10. Number 9 on the list is Marcus Garrett against Eastern Washington in the 2021 first round. That was a great game against the Groves brothers, and Garrett goes off. He had 23 points on 9 of 13 shooting. He was 4 of 6 from 3, which is, not a normal thing we see from Marcus Garrett. He had 8 rebounds. He had 3 assists and a steal. I think we can just assume Marcus Garrett had a pretty good defensive game as well. This one gets a boost up because of the fact that the both sides of the ball, like with the Hunter one, there were some defensive limitations in his matchup. With Garrett, you don't have to worry about that. So that one in at number 9. But both of those helped KU avoid a first-round upset, and then KU was blown out in the second round. Okay, number 8 on the list for best individual performances in the tournament for KU since 2017. Remy Martin against North Carolina in the 2022 national title game. Didn't super fill up the stat sheet. You're talking 14 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block. He was 5-9 shooting, 4 of 6 from 3. So the box score's fine. It's solid. The points is good. But think about the clutchness and the key moments he had in the second half of the title game, right? So he banks in a 3 in the first half, but then you look at the second half. The game is tied 50-50. What does he do? He nails a 3. KU goes up 53-50. Then he gets a steal when it's tied at 57. And on the ensuing offensive possession, he nails a 3 to make it 60-57. Then it's 63-61, and he makes that incredible layup. I think it was with his left hand, like high off the window. They get a 4-point lead. Then it's tied again with 2:39 to go, and he makes that tough contested three, the one that I think Bill Raftery has the fun comment on, to put KU up 68-65. And then after Dave hits his first, Dave obviously hits the back-to-back Hush shots. The first one Dave hits puts Kansas up 1. Caleb Love is going for a layup, and it looks like he's going to put North Carolina back in front. Remy gets the block from behind. So it's not just the box score, it's the moments that he had in that game were gigantic for KU. Number 7 on the list is Malik Newman against Seton Hall in the 2018 second round. This was a closer than you'd like game. And without Malik going off in this one, you don't get some of those other special moments in the run. He had 28 points on 8 of 14 shooting. He goes 4 of 8 from 3. He also added 3 rebounds, 2 assists, no turnovers, and a steal. And here's the other part of it, right? Hitting those key moments. Malik Newman was 6 for 6 at the free throw line in the final 36 seconds of this game, which was rather important because Seton Hall kept coming down and nailing threes with, I think it was like Kadeem Carrington, to answer whatever KU was doing. Number 6 on the list is Frank Mason against Purdue in the 2017 Sweet 16. I mean, just a calm, cool 9 of 11 shooting for Frank against Purdue in the Sweet 16. He finished with 26 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists. Also had a steal, right? And it's actually a more impressive stat line than our next one up on the list. But because this one, you ended up losing the next round, and that one, the next one we're going to get to is on a title run. We end up going with that one a little higher, but that Frank performance against Purdue, I mean, the KU performance is awesome. Frank's performance was immaculate as well. Speaking of immaculate vibes, number 5, hey, it's Remy Martin again. And we're going to go with the Creighton game in the second round of the 2022 NCAA tournament, right? 20 points on 7 of 14 shooting, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and a block. And most of the damage was done here in the first half. A little bit different here. He had 16. He did hit 2 free throws when it was 75-72 to, get you up 2 possessions late, right? That was with 31 seconds left. But the second half, it wasn't as much about his scoring, just 4 points in the second half. He did have 3 assists in the second half, though, and 2 of them came on key Kansas threes. So there were some important moments in the second half. But, that was a game where KU was on upset alert. And for Remy to come in and do what he did in the first half to keep KU afloat and give them kind of a lead in that middle portion of the game was super important. And obviously, KU doesn't win a title if you lose in the second round, duh. But just think about the narrative if KU loses in the first weekend again, with all that we've had since that point of losing in the first weekend. Super important game for Remy. All right, number 4 on the list is David McCormick versus Villanova in the 2022 Final Four. He had 25 points, 9 rebounds, an assist and a steal. He was 10 of 12 shooting. He was also 5 of 6 at the foul line. He had an 84% true shooting mark. Everybody remembers the title game because the big moments late. The Villanova game was the better scoring game and box score for Dave, right? And he also was a key component of holding Eric Dickinson, who, this time wasn't the full-on All-American Eric Dickinson, but was still a good player, to 2 for 7 from the floor. And he had some key moments in the second half, right? Nova got it down to 8. He tips one in off a miss for KU. It's a 6-point game with under 6 to go. He puts KU up 8 with a tough paint make. And then he has the dunk poster to kind of seal it. You would either say that or the Christian Brown special language one were the one to seal it, but that's in at number 4. Number 3 on the list is another guy from that same exact game, Ochai Agbaji versus Villanova in the 2022 Final Four. He had 21 points on 6 of 7 shooting from 3, right? He was just not missing. 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block. And Villanova, you forget about it now because KU won the game by 16 points. Villanova made 13 threes. This was not a case of, hey, Villanova came in and Kansas actually this time they didn't shoot well. No, Villanova still shot well against Kansas. They were 42% from 3 on high volume. So KU had to match with their own 3-point prowess. And if not for Ochai, who made half of KU's threes on incredible, his true shooting percentage and effective field goal percentage were over 100. That is insane, right? And how much he opened the floor for other people because they had to start basically face guarding him, right? And some key moments too. Gillespie hits a 3 to cut it to 10 to start the second half. Ochai answers. It's an 8-point game at the dozen-minute mark. Ochai pushes it to 11 with a 3. The first half, he's the reason KU even creates that separation and momentum, right? So Ochai's performance was pristine in the Final Four. Number 2 on the list is David McCormick versus North Carolina in the 2022 title game. And honestly, I thought about putting this one actually lower because he still was, he still shot below 50%. Actually, this is what makes it super interesting. His final 2 shots that he makes, to that point in time, he was 5 of 13 shooting. So it's not like he was having a hot game and KU was like, go to the hot hand. He was not having a good game shooting. And then he hits those 2 key points, but he winds up with a double-double, 15 points, 10 rebounds, an assist and a block. He obviously hits the 2 biggest shots of the game for KU. And I mean, I think he also gets credit for the defense. I know, North Carolina did really well on the glass, and I know Armando Bacot had a bunch of rebounds, but Bacot was only 3 of 13 shooting, and I think Dave deserves some credit on that too. So that one in at number 2. Number 1 on the list, though, is Malik Newman in the 2018 Elite Eight against Duke. He had 32 points. That's tied the most ever by a Bill Self player in an NCAA tournament game. He goes 42% from 3. He also added 7 rebounds and 3 steals. And again, you're talking about somebody who clutch moment after clutch moment. 9 of those points came in overtime. He got KU's first points of overtime. They're down 74-72. He hits a 3. And in fact, all 9 of his overtime points came when KU was either down or tied when he released the ball. The last one was when it was tied. He makes the 3 to put KU up 81-78, and they never go back from there. So, the clutchness of always being tied or down when you're making those shots is incredible. And what a performance, what a march it was for March Malik Newman. All right, let's finish up here with a little bit of the latest news. This is Locked On Jayhawks. We're brought to you by Odoo. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized on growing the business instead of managing the software. And the best organizations, they know that it's not just about the talent. They know it's not just about the Jimmies and Joes. That's important, but you need the X's and O's as well. You need the guys to bring in the Jimmies and Joes. There's a lot that goes into this from an organization perspective. You got to be on the same page with the recruiters. You got to be on the same page with your assistant coaches. You got to be on the same page with the GAs and the players. You got to tame the boosters and the president, right? It's a whole organization that has to work together to make things work. And that's why great organizations win, because operations do matter. And that's why you should get Odoo. Try it for free at odoo.com/lockedon. That is ODOO.com/lockedon. Once again, you can check out the Everydayer Club at lockedonjayhawks.supercast.com to get the ad-free version of the show. We heard when KU's big game in London is going to be, it's going to be big noon, at least locally here. If you go to England, I don't know, what'll that be, like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, be like a night game, but KU will be on big noon for the KU Arizona State game in London. And that's nice, because if you are going out there, if you are making this trip, if you are jumping through the hoops and going through the hassle of having to, make this travel, how that impacts the season, how that impacts your rest and recovery, you might as well get everything you can for it, right? KU got a nice little payday to do this. So that's a good thing. You're now on, basically national TV where they're going to be talking you up the whole game before. Those are all good things as results for KU on this that you hope leads to, long-term revenue or recruiting or whatever it would end up being. Then also we heard about this, speaking of games in foreign countries, KU women's basketball is going to be playing in Mexico this upcoming season. Now, I want to say they played in, I guess not different country, but was it Puerto Rico they played in like a year or two ago? Was it this past year, whatever it was, right? But Kansas is going to be playing in the 2026 Cancun Challenge, which is going to be on November 26th through 28th. So I believe that'll be during Thanksgiving week. They'll be joined by Miami of Ohio, Minnesota, and Washington State. And then 2 additional programs will be announced. Colorado, Georgia, and Oregon are going to also be a part of this. But interesting, it's going to be a 4-team, 3-game round robin with, I don't know, I guess, I don't know, is there going to be like a championship game, or is it just you play the 3 teams in your pod or whatever? I don't know how that's going to work. I guess similar to the Players era. I do find this interesting though, because it is KU going, to another country, and maybe this is just a difference in where the women's game is at versus where the men's game is at. In the men's game, it feels like some of these opportunities and trips, like I hope we get to see KU go back to Maui one day, right? But is that going to be a thing that's just not going to happen because teams don't want to pay for the travel and they'd rather use that money for NIL? Well, there's still NIL and stuff in the women's game, but maybe it's not to the same level. Like I'm sure, I don't know, like maybe the UConns of the world, it is to the same level of some of the lower end of things. But I just wonder if, like, has it not been phased to the same level where they can still do that? Or is this a sign that, like, no, maybe KU men's basketball will go to one of these, Battle for Atlantis or Maui invitationals at some point in the future. Although it seems like they're pretty linked into the players era. I just hope we get to the point where, maybe one of those, the Maui or the Battle for Atlantis or some of these great college basketball tournaments that we've been used to, get some big sponsors that allow them to pay the team the same way the players era is, because those environments are better, but I can understand why the teams are going to the players era. So if you can match what the players era is doing from a money standpoint, or at least get close to it and have the better environment and the better place for fans to visit, I'd be all about that. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Locked On Jayhawks. You can find our show anywhere you get your podcast, including on our YouTube page, where you can like and subscribe to the show. Hit us up on Twitter at LO_Jayhawks. You can also hit me up on Twitter at DJohnsonRadio, and we'll see you next time for another edition of Locked On Jayhawks.